It's a Conspiracy est un fier membre d'Alberta Podcast Network, cultivé localement et soutenu par la communauté. Pour une liste d'autres programmes amusants, veuillez consulter albertapodcastnetwork.com où vous pouvez trouver des émissions comme I Have Some Notes.
So this is our Canada Day special. We respectfully acknowledge that we are located on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional gathering place for diverse Indigenous people, including the Cree, Blackfoot, Métis, Nakota Sioux, Iroquois, Dene, Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Anishinaabe, Inuit, and many others whose histories, languages, and cultures continue to influence our vibrant community. Welcome back, everyone, to It's a Conspiracy. This is the podcast where we lay out the beliefs behind selected conspiracy theories, alternative accounts, legends, myths, and more. I'm your host, Andrew, and I do not claim to be an expert on anything we're going to discuss today, and will probably be wrong about everything because we are, despite living in Canada where it's supposed to be cold all the time, we're in the middle of a horrendous heat wave that has just left me a blathering pile of sweaty meat. It is so hot. It is like on Wednesday, it's supposed to be like plus 38, which is crazy. And it reminds me of a friend in Australia who was like, I don't know why Canadians always say plus 38. It's not like there's minus 38. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah, there is.
Minus 38 is normal, and I'm okay with that. Plus 38 is where I'm like, no, thank you. If you'd like to see where we dug up whatever buckets of syrup we're about to slap on our flapjacks, then please check out the resources in the episode description. Charlie, who lamentably cannot be here today, he spends a lot of time on that. And you looking at those just lights up his cold, dark, lonely, tired heart. Lastly, we are a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported, and super awesome. Yay team, yay friends, yay squad. You can check us out at itsconspiracypodcast.com, our Twitter at isitaconspiracy, our Facebook group, our Instagram page, It's a Conspiracy Podcast, that's run by Greg, our email, and our Patreon page, patreon.com/itsaconspiracy. Now, joining the online distance communication time today is gorgeous Greg and our special friend all the way from Quebec City, Marjolaine. These friendly sailors are from the SS Friendship and will just chime in as they see fit. I want to apologize in advance. I was just saying to these guys, there's a lot of French words and names and places in this coming up. I'm going to butcher all of it. I'm going to try, but yeah, that's okay. I'm going to do my best here. Now, Greg, with a oui or a no, can you tell me if you've heard of any of these theories? Okay.
What?
Number one. The strange history of O Canada.
No.
Okay. Number two, fun facts about Quebec City.
Possibly.
Okay. Number three, Canada Day in Quebec.
Yes.
Okay. So here we go. Subject number one. This is the weird history of O Canada. Right off the top, there's a name here that I'm like, I'm going to ask for some help on here. So, Mars, this name, Calixa Lavallee, is that how I say that?
That's correct. Calixa, Lavallee.
Calixa, Lavallee. That is Calixa. I've never heard that name before. Is that a traditional French name?
Not at all. There's only a few of them here in Quebec City. But for us, when we talk about Calixa, it's always about Calixa Lavallee. Buildings are named after her here in the city.
Man, after her?
Yeah.
Oh, holy. There we go. That's important to note. I just assumed it was a young man. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Well, there we are. Right off the bat. Let's get this right. Okay. Quebec, the 1880s, a young woman named Calixa Lavallee was commissioned by the Society Saint-Jean-Baptiste to write a party song to celebrate Saint-Jean-Baptiste Day. Adolphe Basile Routhier, a local judge and poet, was picked to write out the lyrics, and the plan was for this new song to be revealed in Quebec City on June 24th with a choir of around 500 people just belting their hearts out all together, swaying back and forth, singing a song. I can't wait to get back to that kind of thing. This COVID thing has just taken that away from us. Anyways, Lavallee went into relative obscurity shortly after this, emigrated to the U.S., and died in poverty in 1891. Her song, however, continued to do very well and was picked to be the official birthday jingle of Quebec City's 300th birthday in 1908. The song was chosen because the French lyrics shared a wonderfully unique perspective on the people there, and Quebec was just all on board. Right around the same time, 1909, I think, or maybe 1907, the National Hockey Association was gearing up to get started with the NHL. And they
1909.
1909, thank you.
Yeah.
They saw the excitement around Quebec's birthday bash, and they realized this was a great opportunity to include a team of French-speaking hockey players for a hockey team. The team would be based in Montreal and would be named Les Canadiens, or the Canadians. And this is partly in relation to the song. I know we three are aware of this, but maybe some people listening don't know that the spelling of Canadians in terms of the Montreal Canadiens is a little bit different. Mark, can you tell me what the difference is there, like Canadiens versus Canadians?
Absolutely. Well, even in French, when I speak about Canadians, it would be IENS. So It's Les Canadiens de Montréal. And why the reason we call them Habs, right? We call them the Habs. The ones who are in the Stanley Cup final, by the way, that are starting tomorrow.
Pretty exciting.
Why we call them the Habs, it's because it was les habitants, so the habitants of Montreal, the Habs de Montréal.
Yeah. I feel weird even saying Montreal Canadiens. Like everybody just calls them the Habs. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Here we actually call them la Sainte Flanelle, so the Saint Fleece, basically. Because back in the days when we used to watch hockey, you were talking about in your early blurb there, you were talking about how it's a heat wave right now. You were talking about minus 38. Here we do get the minus 38 in the winter. So when we used to watch hockey, we used to be all bundled up in our fleece, and la Sainte Flanelle, and their first uniform was actually made out of fleece. We call them the Sainte Flanelle as the Saint St. Flanelle fleece.
That is so nice. Like the thought of like a warm sweater on a cold day. Like that's the kind of weather I'm into. But so little did they know at the time that their choice for the hockey team's name would be kind of an increasingly political statement over the next century, and actually century and beyond. So the team was called the Canadiens, Les Canadiens, and they have a bunch of nicknames as well, as we've been talking about. The little tune caught on and began to spread to the three coasts of Canada. Within a year, there were a number of English versions written, including one from Toronto, which began, "O Canada, our father's land of old, thy brow is crowned with leaves of red and gold." At the same time, we have to remember that Canada didn't have the flag that we have now, and this idea of a red leaf started getting into people's imaginations. At the time, we sort of still had the old UK version of the flag. The popularity went right up to William Lyon Mackenzie King, one of Canada's longest-running prime ministers, who decided to use the song for Canada's Diamond Jubilee Confederation celebration in 1927. Frustratingly, there still wasn't an official English version that everyone had agreed on, and once again, another judge in Quebec to the rescue, Robert Weir, I hope I'm saying Weir or Wire, he suggested, "O Canada, our home and native land." The federal government made it the official starting line, and then the rest of the lyrics were like, whatever comes after that, you guys, there's a whole bunch of versions, but that's going to be the first line in the song. That's as far as they got with the English lyrics. Decades passed. Montreal won an astounding amount of Stanley Cups. I think it's 24. 24.
We're going to win our 25th this year.
Oh, man. I hope, man. Is this Greg and I? I'm on.
You know what? Let's bring the cup back to Canada. I'm a huge Montreal fan, but You know what? It needs to come back to Canada. It's our hockey game.
It absolutely does. Totally. And I understand. It was hard.
That's for a whole other show.
You know what? I think we can agree that as long as it's not going back to Toronto, I think we're okay. I think we're good. I think we can find some common ground. We'll be okay.
People have been saying they're like, if Montreal wins, we're never going to hear the end of it. I mean, and it's true. Like, it's exciting and it'll be really fun. We're never going to hear the end of it either way, like win or lose. But I really hope they win. It's so exciting. Canada was voluntold to be in two massive wars in Europe at the behest of England. Consensus on this decision was mixed, and English Canadians began adopting the name Canadians for themselves. So that term really wasn't always in use. They started calling themselves that to further distance from the British connection. Simultaneously, a growing movement of separation in Quebec led to the term Québécois to be used for people there. Referring to Quebecois as Canadians became a very sensitive political point. And this resulted in Lavallee song, again, originally written for Saint Jean-Baptiste Day. It was dropped from public events, schools, church services, celebrations, etc. So O Canada kind of got put aside. Fast forward to 1980, the 100th anniversary of O Canada, and coincidentally the exact same year that Quebec went under a massive provincial referendum on whether or not to separate from Canada. Thankfully, Quebec decided to stay, and at the same time the Canadian government passed the National Anthem Act, which made O Canada the official sing-song of the country. The English verses were solidified, and interestingly, the original French ones, written in 1880, have never ever changed. And the town where Calixa Lavallee was from was actually renamed to Lavallee. So maybe Calixa Lavallee is the name of the town, or it's just her last name?
Just Lavallee, and she's from there, but the song was written in Quebec City.
The song was cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
It was written. She wrote the music to it. She was the musician. She's not the one that wrote the lyrics. But for those of you who've ever been to Quebec City, when you're wandering in our old city, the park, there's actually her house there, and with a plaque on the door, etc. And you can actually still see her house.
That's very cool. So one of the questions that's often asked is, what was the national anthem before O Canada? Was it the English national anthem? Was it maybe the French national anthem? And the fun fact here is that England, contrary to, and I didn't realize this until I was looking at this, contrary to popular belief, England actually doesn't technically have a national anthem. So it is, for all sort of official intents and purposes, God Save the Queen, but there's never been like a national anthem act like Canada had, where it's like, this is the song, wha-bam. It's still a little political, it's a little emotional, symbolic, kind of controversial. So they're like, we'll use it as our national anthem, but they've never actually made it official. France's anthem, and I hope I'm saying this right, La Marseillaise.
La Marseillaise.
La Marseillaise.
Yeah.
They have a very loaded background there, and their national anthem was actually temporarily banned by Napoleon for quite some time. So I think it was written in 17-something, banned, and then it wasn't reinstated until 1879, which is right around the same time that O Canada was being written in Quebec City, which is like, that's really interesting. There really isn't anything new to this. As we've seen in recent years, Canada made the switch in the English lyrics in All Our Sons command, and it was switched to In All of Us command. And even now, if you're at maybe this is an Alberta thing, I hate to play into stereotypes, but if you're at a hockey game and everybody's singing the anthem, there's always a bunch of people that have to, as loudly as possible, sing In All Our Sons command as if they're making some kind of political point. It's like, okay, the lyrics have changed. Like, you can belt it out all you want, but like, it is All of Us command. So,
see, I didn't even know that. Honestly.
Yeah. And it's a big thing. It's a very sensitive point as well. Like, people get really touchy about it, but like, the English lyrics have been changed 1 billion times. So, yeah. I
learned it in All Our Sons command. I still sing it in All Our Sons command.
It was originally in All Our Sons command. It turned to In All of Us command. So maybe.
So during the next Montreal hockey game, I'm going to have to switch up my lyrics when I sing it in my living room.
Do you always sing along the national anthem when you're at home?
Absolutely. I actually stand up and do it.
Oh, right on. Yeah, my computer is not cooperating entirely today. I think I'm going to hold off on looking that up. But it was recent. And I'll punch that in as like a quick little edit point.
Hey there, sorry. Hi, just a quick editor's note. The actual date of the Canadian Senate decision to change the lyrics of the national anthem to a gender-neutral version was in 2018. And quick note from David Aiken at the time. The original lyric to the 1908 version of O Canada was, Thou dost in us command. It was changed to All Thy Sons in 1914. So for you traditionalists, Robert Stanley Ware's original lyric was, in fact, gender neutral, but as we discussed, there was a whole bunch. So the original wasn't this one here, even though David Aiken says it was. But, yep, toodaloo.
Lastly, obviously, people have been singing O Canada for a very long time, but there were other tunes that were just as, if not more so, popular and almost became the national anthem. The Bold Canadian, or Come All Ye Bold Canadians, was a war song of 1812. The Maple Leaf Forever, which is a song with it's kind of got a strong British perspective. It was very unpopular amongst French Canadians. This is still performed at Toronto hockey games and was even featured in the closing ceremonies of the 2010 Olympics, where it was sung by Greg's favorite singer, Michael Bublé.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, Mikey.
I love Michael Bublé.
Michael Bublé. Canada, or the Centennial Song, is a bilingual folk song written for Canada's 100th birthday in 1967. This was a huge radio hit and ended up being the best-selling single by a Canadian artist that year at 270,000 copies. So it was a big radio hit and was very, very close to being the national anthem. Something to Sing About, which is a song written for Expo 67, which I think was in Montreal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's another folk song. It made it all the way up to the federal level of a motion to say this should be the national anthem in 1965. And it didn't go through at that point, but that was very, very close. Probably the closest that any other song has gotten to. So we could have had Something to Sing About as our national anthem. And then this last one here, this one's a bit of a loaded one. It's called Land of the Silver Birch. And it is thought to originally be an Indigenous folk song with lyrics later on written possibly by someone named Pauline Johnson. The authorship is a big debate. The lyrics themselves have been really criticized about kind of playing into stereotypes and the era under which they were written. So people have been trying to include them as a tribute to Indigenous culture, but some people have said this really isn't an accurate portrayal at all. The agreement is the melody itself may be an Indigenous melody. So yeah, Land of the Silver Birch. That's one a lot of schools have actually dropped that from their curriculum. I
was going to say I haven't heard that song or talked about it since I was probably in grade 2 or 3.
Yep, really popular for kids to learn, and it's one of those ones that people kind of take out and they say, well, look at this. Maybe there's other more inclusive material that we could be teaching kids. All right, so that's the weird history of O Canada, and that's going to take us to ad number 1.
Wow.
This episode is brought to you by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider in Alberta, offering internet, electricity, and natural gas with low rates, awesome service, and profit sharing with local charities. Easy to switch. In Alberta, you get to choose who you buy your internet, electricity, and natural gas from. If you switch providers, nothing changes about the delivery of these utilities to your home or business. If you have an existing contract, you're going to want to find out the terms before leaving. If you don't, then it's even easier to sign up for Park Power. You, as the consumer, have a choice of who you pay your bills to, so why not choose your friendly local utilities provider? Learn more at parkpower.ca. That's parkpower.ca.
Okay, cool. So we are back, and we are going to get some fun facts about Quebec City. Mars, we should get you to introduce yourself and tell us a little about. Yeah.
Well, my name is Marjolaine Dessal. I'm actually I'm CEO of the Hotel Association here in Quebec City. As you know, COVID has hit a lot of our hotels and Quebec City tourism. We live off tourism in the city. Our third employer is tourism, so it's been a tough 16 months. We're hoping everything gets back to normal, and that with both of our vaccines and everything, everybody's going to be able to come back and travel. So we're very happy. I've known Andrew for 10 years. I actually met him when I was in Edmonton for a congress, and we ended up in a bar where he was singing. So that's how I met him 10 years ago.
That was a long time ago. 10 years ago is surprising. Yeah.
Et voila. Lots of vodka cranberry that evening.
So some interesting facts about Quebec City.
Well, I just talked to you about tourism. What do you think the first employer in the city is? Greg, have you ever been, first of all?
I've been to Quebec City.
Yeah?
Yeah? Oh, yeah.
Okay. So what's the first employer in Quebec?
Oh, Mafia? Sorry.
Actually, the first employer in Quebec City is actually the government of Quebec. It is the capital city of the province. And 60% of people who live in Quebec City actually work for the government.
Wow. Cool. Does that include like education and everything like that?
When we count the schools here in Quebec City. Quebec City is close to 800,000 people, but with all of the ministries, all of the government is here. So my husband actually works for the Ministry of Finance for the government of Quebec. What's the second one? What's our second employer? I told you tourism's the third one.
Is it some kind of construction?
No. Greg, do you have an idea?
I have no idea.
Well, actually, it's Laval University. Laval University is actually close to 50,000 people, students and teachers. So that's our second employer is Laval University, where I'm a huge university football fan. So the Laval Rouge et Or have dominated in the last 20 years of existence in Canada. But so Laval University, and then tourism's the third one. And actually the fourth one is all the insurance companies of the province, and a lot of them from Canada are actually based out in Quebec City. Cool. Versus Montreal, a lot of Ubisoft, a lot of technological and medical. And in Quebec, we have a lot of insurance companies.
You know, I always forget that Ubisoft is based. Are they their main location is in Montreal?
Absolutely. Beenox. So a lot of the games actually started out smaller in Quebec City and then obviously moved to Montreal to get more staff, etc. Montreal is close to 4 million people, so you have more people there.
Holy smokes.
So both of you have been to Quebec City. How many staircases are there within the walled city?
I might let Greg take a shot at that because I can't.
I told you I'd get fun facts. Yeah. Well, you've been to the walled city. We're the only walled city north of Mexico. We're UNESCO World Heritage.
Nice.
There are over 30 staircases that you can just walk and take them up and down the streets of Old Quebec. In total, how many stairs?
I'm going to guess 1,000.
We're close to 7,000 stairs. There's one that's 400 stairs, 387 stairs.
Nice.
So it's a good up and down city.
When I was there in high school, and I just remember like walking and walking and walking and walking.
You know what? You're walking, and it's a small radius. It's less than a kilometer long. It's just that you're up and down streets and up Lower Town and Upper Town where the Chateau Frontenac is. Chateau Frontenac, did you guys know it was the world's most photographed hotel? Guinness World Record.
That's very, very cool.
The Chateau Frontenac, yeah. That's why it's the emblem of our city. Touristic wise, I represent the hotel association. So I have 225 hotels. And whenever we do a publicity, of course, it's going to be the Chateau Frontenac. And all of the other hotels are like, why not mine? Well, it's emblematic. You can't go to India without thinking about the Taj Mahal, right? So it's a little bit, you can't talk about Quebec City without talking about the Chateau Frontenac. And it's actually called the Chateau, but it was never a real castle. Right? It was always built as a hotel, built by Peace Canadian Railroads.
Oh, it's a Fairmont.
Yeah, it is a Fairmont. It's in the same line as Lake Louise and all of that. Royal York in Toronto.
Yeah, there's one in Edmonton too.
I went there when I was there 10 years ago.
That's right. We were like a block away from it, the Hotel McDonald.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool.
One more thing about Quebec. What do you think Quebec means? Quebec is an Algonquin name. What do you think it means? Usually when, and this is 10 years of tour guiding back in my days, but when we usually tell this to the tourists, we're actually close to the St. Lawrence River. So we tell them, what do you think Quebec means?
Does it mean river or is there?
It means where the river narrows. It becomes, the St. Lawrence River becomes less than 1 kilometer wide. So it's where the river narrows. And that's how the British actually were able to take over by the French in 1759 for the Battle of the Plains of Abraham, where their cannons were able to shoot from the South Shore to Quebec City. A little bit of history today. And did you know that Quebec City has the only ice hotel in North America?
Ice hotel. Cool.
I was their director for 3 years. It's the only ice hotel out of Europe, and there's one in Asia. It's 44 rooms. Obviously, it's not year-round. It takes about 55 days to build, 5 hours to demolish, and you actually can have people sleep in it for about 90 days. So from January 1st to the end of March. It's all man-made snow. It's 300,000 tons of ice. It's pretty amazing.
like the electricity and running water and stuff like that? Like how does
There's no running water.
Right.
There's no running water inside. You always have a backup room somewhere else, but I've actually slept there 3 times.
Yeah.
And it is the most peaceful sleep you'll ever get. The walls are 4 to 6 feet of snow thick. And snow being the best insulator there is. There's no noise. And it's the perfect level of humidity. So nobody snores. Nobody has sleep apnea. It's actually really warm because you're in thermal sleeping bags.
Yeah.
My husband, whenever he slept there twice, and he was like, you could only see his eyes. He was locked in and you could only see his eyes. I always let my whole face loose. And like at 3-4 in the morning, I had to unzip and steam comes out of your sleeping bag. Your body temperature climbs up to about 24, 25 degrees. And I don't know about you, but when it's 24, 25 in my house during the summer, I actually put AC on.
Oh, yeah.
So you're actually really, really warm when you're sleeping there. And you're sleeping on a mattress on an ice bed. But it's quite an experience to live. And I really hope that you guys can see it once. And I don't want to start singing the song, but when we look at Elsa's castle in Frozen, it is based out of l'Hôtel de Glace. We actually had Game of Thrones come in 2016 and launch their 5th season at the Ice Hotel. It was the season where they were talking about winter is coming, obviously, and it was launched at the Ice Hotel. That's pretty cool.
That's huge. That's crazy huge. Like
it
that.
Is.
We've been we talked about it a couple times. Greg and it's the Game of Thrones influence is just so enormous. Like that's a serious honor for Quebec City. And Greg and Charlie and I have talked a couple times about doing like a Game of Thrones episode. So yeah, that's very, very cool.
Yeah, stick that one in the back pocket for later.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get Peter Dinklage to be on the episode to see what he's up to. All right, that's going to take us to ad number 2. ATB presents The Future of Podcast. Hosted by Todd Hirsch, ATB's financial vice president and chief economist, The Future of Podcast has launched its 2nd season by connecting with industry leaders to uncover what's on the horizon for the things that mean the most to you. The Future of Podcast promises to give you insights to help navigate what is often an uncertain future. Explore how our economy and communities can not only brace for change, but embrace the opportunity it creates. Subscribe to The Future of in the Apple Store, Google Play, Spotify, and everywhere podcasts are found. And connect with us at atb.com/thefutureof. That's atb.com/thefutureof. So we are back, and this is interesting. I'm really excited to hear about this. Canada Day celebrations we've talked about here in Alberta, and then last year in our 2nd season, we talked to a friend of ours who sort of shared the Indigenous perspective on Canada Day nationally and her experiences in Alberta and what she was all about. And I'm really excited to learn about what is and like what happens around the same time as Canada Day in Quebec.
Absolutely. Well, I'm actually born 3 hours north of Quebec City in the Saguenay region, where a lot of hockey players are from, actually. But the very francophone area, and obviously I'm an anglophone in a very francophone area, even though I do speak French. You know, I can take my French accent if you wish for me to talk. Out of my 45, 46 cousins, we're the only ones that speak English. Actually, some of my cousins never passed their English test in high school. It was very weird because my house was egged at Canada Day by very sovereignist and very francophone sovereignist people when I was younger. Nowadays, it's very different. We're looking at a generation, and I think about the 35-year-olds and younger, they're a little bit younger than me, they see the difference between a francophone and an anglophone, and they don't see it as a threat. A lot of the times it was considered a threat because we'd be taking over, etc. So I grew up with half of my family immigrants. My father's from India and immigrated to he arrived in if you want to talk to someone who arrived in a snowstorm from India, my dad's the guy to talk to.
Poor man.
I left New Delhi and arrived in Arvida, for God's sakes, in a snowstorm on May 5th. But that being said, my mom's family is very French, very sovereign, and for them to keep the French language going. I always told my parents when I was a kid, and I had fights with my uncles and aunts when I was 5 years old. I used to say, whether I teach how to make tourtière, which is a very traditional meal where I'm from, basically a huge meat pie, etc. But I always said, whether I'm going to teach my kids how to do it in Spanish, in English, in French, or in Russian, the same bloody tourtière that my grandmother used to make, and the stories are going to be the same. So for me, it was never an issue. Now, like I said, people realize the importance of English. If you want to leave the province, if you want to travel, just traveling, you're going to need a little bit of English, etc. So it's changed a lot in the generation. So you don't feel the animosity that used to be there when I was a kid. And I'm 43 years old. It's not, we're not talking back 100 years ago, but still. And so that right now in Quebec City, though, we do celebrate Canada Day because Samuel de Champlain, the founder of Canada, settled here in Quebec City. So Canada Day was always a very important day. And it's actually close to the first settlement. The arrival of Samuel de Champlain is July 3rd. So July 1st is celebrated. Usually there's a huge cake and fireworks and a show. It's not as big as Saint-Jean-Baptiste. And when you were describing the flag and the anthem, and you were talking about it was done for Saint-Jean-Baptiste. Saint-Jean-Baptiste is our summer solstice, but we've taken it over as a sovereign. It's our Quebec Day. You guys all get your civic holiday the first Monday of August, correct? The rest of Canada. And us, it's Saint-Jean-Baptiste Day on the 24th of June, where school is over. Everybody has to finish school for the 23rd of June because it's a statutory holiday on the 24th, and that's our official provincial holiday. And so we've already had a huge celebration, and Canada Day comes a week after. And in the province of Quebec, July 1st is the official moving day. So everybody, all of our leases, when you're in an apartment for school or for university or whatever, everybody moves on July 1st. So it's pretty impressive. You have to book your truck to move like months in advance if you're moving on July 1st. And it's chaos because the stores are closed. And of course, when you move, you need stores because something broke and you need to fix to have the fridge on level, etc. So pure chaos. It's one of those days that you wish sunshine arrives. And the last 20 years, we've always been in the rain during moving day. Here it's called moving day. It's not even called Canada Day. Wow. Now more and more leases are laxism in the leases. So people, like I moved in November last year. But usually it's moving day. All of the houses, you take possession on July 1st. That's how it is.
That's so interesting.
Is that all over Quebec, or is that just like Quebec City? Or?
No, that's all over the province.
Holy man.
And it's one of those days when if you don't have to take the highway, you don't take the highway. Because Uncle Sam's pickup truck is full of mattresses and stuff, not well packed. And mattresses are flying off on the highway and boxes are dropped. And no, it's one of those days that if you don't take a highway, you're good to go.
So who is you mentioned Saint Jean Baptiste a couple of times, and we have like the Faculty Saint Jean here in Edmonton, and like you hear about Saint Jean Baptiste quite often, but who is that?
But Saint Jean Baptiste is a saint, and it's just that day. It's just that it was a celebration for summer solstice. That's how it started.
Right.
And it started back in the 70s, if my memory serves correct. And it was just, we wanted a celebration to kick off the summer. For us, the summer months are extremely important. In Quebec, you have a pool, but you need the heater for the pool because you only get 2 months. So you want to make sure you get the time and be able to go swimming in your swimming pool. So it was just a celebration of summer solstice, and they decided to do it on the 24th. Saint Jean Baptiste. I didn't look up my saints for you today, but
that's okay.
I think he was a patron saint of animals, if I'm not mistaken.
Of animals?
Yeah, I think so.
It's John the Baptist. He was the man that baptized Jesus.
That's correct. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's John the Baptist, like the...
Yeah, that's it.
Like poor guy got his head cut off and it got put on a plate.
That's
right?
the one.
Is that what happened to him?
So there we go. I didn't look at my patron saints chart before talking to you guys, but yeah, it's Saint John the Baptist.
Do you feel like in terms of like Quebec City has a Canada Day celebration, but like province wide, do you think it's kind of a like there's the moving day aspect, but is it just kind of like that's a day like the rest of the country kind of does something, but like we're all on board for Saint Jean Baptiste Day and then meh?
No, we're not. It's not one of those 4th of July things, right? That it's every community and it's everybody takes out their picnic tables, etc. But it's still celebrated.
Okay.
For next week, on July 1st, for me, it's going to be my Canada Day. Am I going to wear red? Probably, because I think Montreal Canadiens are going to win the cup that day.
Well, that would be amazing.
It would be chaos. Oh. Seriously, we eliminated Vegas on Saint Jean Baptiste Day. That is full moon, Saint Jean Baptiste, and the Montreal Habs going to the finals in 27 years. Oh my gosh. It was insane. Police cars were flipped over. It was a riot. It's ridiculous. But anyways, that's a whole other issue. It's celebrated. Every community has their celebration. Every village, every city has their celebration. It's not as patriot as the rest of Canada. I've been through Canada Day in Vancouver, Toronto, Ottawa a few times, and it's out of this world.
That's right. Yeah, totally. And I guess that's the comparison, right? Like a Canada Day in a city like Ottawa versus Montreal or Quebec City. It just would be different experiences. Do you feel, is that because of the separation aspect? Like, do you feel like that's part of it, or is the like, why do you think that there would be a reason that it wouldn't be as big of a deal?
I think that within the last 10, 12 years, separation aspect is not an issue anymore. I think I obviously, and I'm fine saying it, everybody knows it around me, I'm not a separatist, but I think it's changed. People are traveling more and more, and they're seeing other things. Yeah. If I look at my family, and I remember moving 27 years ago to Quebec City. I was 26 years ago. I was 17 years old. And I remember one of my aunts came the day before I left. I was coming to college to Quebec City. It's the only English college that was closest to where I'm from. So I said, I couldn't go to a French college. I had gone to English school my whole life, and I spelled maison with a Z and not an S. So as a bad thing for me to go to French school. But now I'm much better, but still. And it was one of those things my aunt said, I can't believe you're leaving your region. You're leaving your family and your heritage. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I mean, I'm still going to come and I'm still going to cook the same meals my mom taught me and everything else. Yeah. And this same aunt, about 10 years ago, went to Asia to travel for 2 months. And I remember calling her and I said, so how's your heritage and how's your, and when I was a tour guide in Quebec City, I remember, and this is just before the 400th anniversary. So just before 2008. Yeah. And so I had a grade 8 class, and I remember I'm in front of the Chateau Frontenac, and there's Samuel de Champlain statue right there. And it's facing the river. And I'm telling them, I said, Samuel de Champlain, he comes from France. France. I'm like, well, France is by there and New York is there. I said, if you put a quarter in the binoculars there on the Dufferin Terrace, one side you're going to see the Eiffel Tower, the other side you're going to see the Statue of Liberty. It was just to put them on the map where we are. And I said, did you know that in 2 years, Quebec City is going to celebrate 400th anniversary? And that's 400 years of Canada as Europeans, because let's not forget, we did have people here before us, but as Europeans, 400 years ago. And it was just to give them a shock to say, we're only 400 years old. And maybe it's because my grandfather from India, when he came here, and I remember him telling me when I was a kid, he's like, you have a beautiful country. Canada's wide and vast and fantastic. And my dad used to say 3 things a Canadian needs to know how to do is drive, because you need a car to get from A to B. We're so far away from each other.
Oh, it's crazy.
You know how to swim, because we've got rivers and lakes absolutely everywhere. And you need to know how to skate, because you have rivers and lakes absolutely everywhere, and it's cold. And I remember my granddad telling me this. He's like, Marjolaine, you have a beautiful country. but you're so young. I used to say, what are you talking about? And he's about 100 years old. I'm like, what are you talking about, Granddad? And you know what? I went to India 4 years ago, and just stepping off the plane, everything clicked from what my grandparents used to tell me. And I said, oh my gosh, we are very young. Yeah. We are very, you know, when you're looking at buildings that existed 7,000 years ago and they're still standing, and we build a highway and 20 years later we have to redo it. Something's wrong, right? So we're a very young country, a lot of history, we have the autochthons, the natives that are from here, and it's a difficult situation, especially what we're learning and what we're living in the last few weeks. It's tough. Quebec City, we have the Huron-Wendat. They're the only ones still in existence. The Wendat, they're actually right smack in Quebec City. They're I need to go through the Huron village to go to work. And they're part of our community. They're part of, I know it's not the same everywhere. And I know a lot of the times they're further away from the city, etc. But we're a young country, and we're a country, I think, who is still, we have a lot of immigrants, my dad being one of them. I have friends who came from Italy, and, you know, and I think we're still trying to figure out our way. And I still think that we have a little ways to go from everybody. If I just look, the three of us, and you're looking at our family names, none of us come from the same background.
No.
My mom is Irish and French. Her dad only spoke English. My mom doesn't speak a word of English because she was raised in a French community, and her mom is francophone, etc. And my dad coming in from India. My dad was the first brown to immigrate to the Saguenay close to 60 years ago. We're still young. We're still trying to find our way, but we have such a heritage through our natives, through the Europeans who arrived here, through our families, etc. But also from all of the different cultures that are coming in. As long as we don't forget our basics of who we are. Right now in Quebec, we're talking a lot about removing the religious symbols in our parliaments and our schools and everything, and becoming laïque. I don't know the word in English, but we can't forget who we are, because that's what history is. And we've learned throughout time, history repeats itself. So let's not repeat the negative stuff of history.
The phrase of Quebec is, I think, is Je me souviens.
Je me souviens. And I remember.
Yeah. Oh, that is very, very cool.
There's a lot to learn, and it's, I think, part of our history and what makes us Canadian. And that's the appeal of everybody else that comes to Canada as tourists, but as people who come to immigrate and to live here. I didn't think I'd be philosophic on you guys today.
No, it's good.
I think this is the perfect episode for it. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what's the best way, if we have some family, friends, loved ones, acquaintances from Quebec, what's the best way to say on Saint Jean Baptiste Day or Canada Day, what's a good way of saying something that we can say that's a phrase, an inclusive phrase, be hey,
on Saint Jean Baptiste, which is now we're not supposed to call it that anymore. We're supposed to call it La Fête Nationale, but we still call it Saint Jean Baptiste Day. And we go, Bonne Saint-Jean! Everybody on the streets is like, Bonne Saint-Jean! And la Fête du Canada au Québec, c'est Bonne Fête du Canada. Happy Birthday Canada.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll remember that. I got a couple of, impress my in-laws or my mom.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly.
I learned some friends. I'm trying. Alrighty then, friends. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. What a time. We will be keeping busy over the summer with a few specials, and we will see you very, very soon. In the meantime, you can check out all of our past casts and social media stuff at itsconspiracypodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us, Marjolaine. That was so awesome. Just sharing everything about Quebec City and Quebec province and just your vast knowledge of Canada in general. That's absolutely amazing. This has been great.
My pleasure. A lot of fun.
All right. Well, take care. Happy Canada Day. Bonne fête du Canada. See you soon.
Je t'aime, c'est le seul qui reste au bout de nos jours. Les vœux que l'on fait, les fleurs que l'on sème. One sky.